The Pittsburgh Steelers just became the kind of team the NFL hates to see when the weather turns and the season gets mean. It is not just that they win, it is how they win. They can look shaky, they can take a punch, they can even flirt with disaster, and then they flip the whole night with one clean stretch of football. What nobody wants to admit is this: the Steelers are starting to feel comfortable in chaos. And once a team stops fearing the messy moments, the rest of the league starts fearing them. Here is the twist: this is not a one-man show. Aaron Rodgers is the calm center, but the scary part is the support around him finally feels real. Jaylen Warren runs like every carry is personal. Kenneth Gainwell turns simple touches into pressure, and even when the offense is not perfect, it stays alive long enough to find the one crack that breaks a defense. Then you add the idea of DK Metcalf stepping back into the mix, and suddenly every route looks louder, every mismatch looks sharper, and the whole game plan gets harder to sit on. This is the kind of balance that makes a defense hesitate, and hesitation is where Pittsburgh lives. And while everyone is staring at the offense, the Steelers' defense is sitting there like a trap that has already been set. TJ Watt does not need many chances, Cam Hayward does not need many words, Alex Highsmith does not need perfect help, they just need you to blink at the wrong time. That is why this feels bigger than a hot streak, because the Steelers can win loud and they can win ugly. And both paths end the same way, with the other sideline feeling tight in the chest. Now the real question is how they built this version of themselves, because if you trace it back, it starts with the quiet changes up front that turned a shaky offense into something built to last. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Steelers and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 300 likes on this video. The part most people miss is the rebuild did not start with a headline name, it started with the ugly work nobody wants to talk about. The Steelers fixed the spots where drives used to die. The pocket used to feel like a panic room, now it feels like a place where plays can actually breathe. You can feel it in the pace, in the body language, in the way the offense stops begging for a miracle and starts expecting progress. That change is not loud, but it is the kind that turns a whole season. Look at the faces doing the heavy lifting. Dylan Cook is not just holding on at left tackle anymore, he is meeting rushers early and staying steady when they try to twist and cheat the corner. Troy Fautanu has settled down on the right side, and that matters because it keeps the edge from collapsing before routes even develop. In the middle, Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick have made the inside feel tighter. Less space for defenders to split, more space for the play to stay on schedule. When the middle is firm, everything else gets easier. Even simple calls start to look sharp instead of shaky. And here is where it turns into a real problem for defenses. When the front five stops leaking pressure, the skill guys can play with timing instead of survival. Adam Thielen can work the soft middle without the play breaking early. Pat Freiermuth can press seams with a real chance to finish. Calvin Austin can threaten deep and still have time for the ball to find him. Now think about what that means for the rest of the team, because a steady offense does not just score, it controls the entire night. It keeps games in the kind of shape where one mistake can flip everything. And that is exactly where the Steelers' defense loves to hunt. The Steelers' defense is not loud every snap. That is what makes it scary. It sits there, it watches your rhythm, then it steals the exact moment you thought you were safe. One late throw, one short step in the pocket, one glance that lasts too long. And suddenly, the whole drive feels cursed. What nobody is talking about is how this unit makes grown quarterbacks play tight, not because of one big hit, but because the pressure never feels finished. Start up front and you see why it works. Cam Hayward is not chasing highlights. He is holding his ground and squeezing space until throwing lanes disappear. TJ Watt does not need a perfect setup, he just needs you to hesitate. Then he turns that half second into a play that flips the stadium. Alex Highsmith keeps the edge clean so nobody can run away from the problem. And when Nick Herbig comes in, the speed changes and protection calls start to crack. Inside, Keanu Benton and Derek Harmon do the dirty work that makes everything else easier. They force offenses to earn every inch instead of getting free space. Now, look behind them, because the back end is not guessing anymore, it is baiting. Joey Porter Jr. can crowd a release and still stay patient. Jalen Ramsey can show one look and switch it late, and Kyle Duggar can drive downhill like he already knows where the ball is going. This is how pressure becomes a trap without needing reckless calls, and it is why one small mistake can turn into a full-blown crisis in seconds. And if you want proof this is real, you have to go back to that Baltimore night. When the game kept swinging, the crowd kept rising, and the Steelers still found the snap where everything broke their way. The Pittsburgh Steelers walked into Baltimore, and the game instantly felt like it was trying to throw them off a cliff. The crowd was loud, the swings were fast, and every time Pittsburgh grabbed a little air, Baltimore hit back with something sharp. Lamar Jackson kept pulling eyes out of place, then snapping the ball into space before anyone could reset. You could feel how thin the margin was. A missed extra point, a shaky coverage moment, one small crack, and this season could have turned into a warning story instead of a crown. Baltimore kept landing punches. Zay Flowers stretched the field, Devontae Walker threatened the sideline, and Isaiah Likely kept showing up right where the defense did not want him. But Pittsburgh did not fold. It answered in smaller ways that mattered more than a highlight. Aaron Rodgers stayed calm when it got loud. Kenneth Gainwell gave them a way out when a drive felt stuck. Jaylen Warren ran through contact like he refused to let the night steal the team's heartbeat. Then the moment arrived that changed the air. Calvin Austin snapped his route with perfect timing. Chidobe Awuzie reached and missed. And suddenly Baltimore looked shocked that the game was still alive. The finish was not clean. It was real. Chris Boswell was living in pressure with every kick. The defense had to tackle in space, and Derrick Henry made every missed angle feel like a threat. But Pittsburgh kept answering the moment instead of running from it. And that is why this win mattered more than the score. It showed they can survive a storm and still find the exact snap that decides everything. Now comes the harder twist, because the next quarterback is not Lamar Jackson, it is CJ Stroud. And the kind of stress he brings asks a totally different question of this Steelers defense. CJ Stroud is not the kind of quarterback who wins by turning the game into a track meet. He wins by staying calm while everything around him starts to shake. He will stand in there, let the roots grow, and wait for the one window that feels just big enough. That patience is the danger. It tempts a defense into overreacting, into chasing the perfect play. And the second you chase, the ball is already gone to the spot you left behind. So the Steelers cannot play this like they played Baltimore. There is no scrambling chaos to bail you out, no easy moment where the quarterback runs himself into a bad decision. This is about pressure with control. Cam Hayward has to push the pocket without losing lanes. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith have to close space without opening escape doors. And the back end has to hold its nerve when CJ Stroud stares down a big target like Nico Collins and dares you to blink first. One soft corner, one late tackle, one busted handoff in coverage, and a quiet drive turns into a gut punch. The shocking part is, the matchup is not only about stopping CJ Stroud, it is about lasting longer than him. Can Pittsburgh stay disciplined when the game gets tight and the crowd gets restless? Can they force him to take the short stuff, then punish it with clean tackles again and again, until the frustration shows? Because if they do, that is when the turnovers show up, the kind that change a whole night. But while everyone is locked on CJ Stroud, the next threat might be even meaner. The Houston defense that is built to make a great quarterback feel trapped. And that is the fight that could decide everything. The part that can steal this whole night is not even wearing a Steelers helmet. It is the Houston defense that shows up like a locked door. You can have a plan, you can have talent, you can even feel good early. Then one stop turns into two, and suddenly the game starts shrinking. The shocking part is how fast it happens. A clean pocket turns messy. A safe throw turns risky. A normal drive turns into a choice you do not want to make on third down. It starts with the way the front attacks you from both sides. Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter do not just rush, they squeeze the edges so the quarterback feels crowded even when nobody touches him. Inside, Sheldon Rankins and Tommy Togiai make every step forward feel heavy, like the middle is never open. Then you have Azeez Al-Shaair and Henry To'oTo'o flying to the ball and closing space before a play can breathe. That is why this unit is so hard to live with. It forces you to play fast, but it also punishes you for rushing. And the back end makes it worse because it is not just pressure. It is coverage that dares you to be perfect. Derek Stingley Jr. can erase a top target, Kamari Lassiter can hold his ground, and Jalen Pitre has a way of showing up right where a quick throw is supposed to feel safe. Callan Bullock cleaning up over the top means even the deep shot has to be earned, not hoped for. Now put that in front of DK Metcalf and the rest of Pittsburgh's weapons, and you get a game that feels like a chess match without the comfort because every wrong answer costs points. And that is where the pressure moves next, onto Mike Tomlin, because when the defense across from you is this sharp, every choice you make starts to feel like it can decide your season. This is the part that gets uncomfortable, because the Steelers are not only playing for a win, they are playing for a verdict on an era. Mike Tomlin has kept this team standing for so long that people almost treat it like normal, but playoff nights do not care about normal. One wrong choice can turn a great season into a memory. One right choice can turn years of noise into real proof. And when the stakes get that sharp, you can feel the whole city leaning forward like it knows the moment is bigger than the scoreboard. What nobody wants to say out loud is how small the margins are for a coach in a game like this. When do you stay calm and take points with Chris Boswell? And when do you chase the kill shot? When do you trust Aaron Rodgers to control the chaos? And when do you lean on the run to keep the game from speeding up? When do you let TJ Watt and the rush hunt on their own? And when do you send pressure that risks one bad angle behind it? These are not style choices. These are season choices. And every decision will feel louder because the opponent will punish hesitation fast. That is why the next part of this story is brutal in the best way. It comes down to a simple checklist. Not hype, not talk, not vibes, just the few things Pittsburgh has to do clean if they want this night to end the right way. And the scary part is this: the list is short, but every item on it is a trap if you lose focus for even one snap. This game is going to come down to the stuff that never looks flashy on a replay. The first snap tells you if Pittsburgh is sharp or just excited. Are they clean before the play? Are they calm when the crowd gets loud? Are they communicating like they have done this 100 times? Because the moment the Steelers give away a drive with a false start, a wasted timeout, or a free runner through the middle, Houston will not feel sorry for them. The shocking part is how fast a playoff game turns from tight to desperate when you lose control of the small moments. On offense, the mission is simple: do not let the night speed up. Aaron Rodgers has to keep the huddle steady, change the picture at the line, and get the ball out before the rush gets to celebrate. The stress cannot sit on one target. It has to spread. DK Metcalf drawing eyes, Adam Thielen stealing space inside, Pat Freiermuth pulling defenders up the seam, Calvin Austin forcing the back end to respect speed. Then the real body blows, Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell making second and medium feel like a win, turning short gains into a rhythm that keeps the pass rush honest. If Pittsburgh finishes drives, the whole stadium changes, because Houston cannot play free when the scoreboard starts demanding answers. And on defense, Pittsburgh has to stay patient until the moment arrives, then hit like a hammer. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith have to squeeze the edges without giving away an escape door, while Cam Hayward makes the pocket feel tight even when it looks clean at first. Behind them, Joey Porter Jr., Jalen Ramsey, and Kyle Duggar have to tackle like the play matters every time, because one missed tackle can turn a safe throw into a problem. Then the final layer, special teams and field position, Chris Boswell doing his job, and the coverage unit staying disciplined so nothing cheap flips the game. If all of that holds, it will not feel like luck. It will feel like a team walking into January with control. And the last 5 minutes will tell you if that control is real or if the Texans can rip it away.